Hey, all you beautiful people out there, and welcome to my channel for another rebuttal. Yay! A creationist rebuttal. What we all want, right? By the way, if you like this kind of content, why don't you go ahead and subscribe to my YouTube channel while you're thinking about it? And yes, I'm starting into busting creationists. Since I'm pretty new at both busting creationists and using the software, I'm kind of sort of easing into it with John Morris Pendleton. So let's dive right in. Are you as excited as I am to pummel some creationist nonsense? Then let's go.
Anyway, let's take a look at some clocks. One of the first clocks that we have is the delta at the end of the great river Mississippi by New Orleans that empties out into the Gulf of Mexico. Now,
First of all, John, a delta is not a clock. Second of all, you act as though the Mississippi River went back to the beginning of the world, which it does not. Even when you gave your speech, it was thought to have been about 20 million years old. Now it's thought to be about 70 million years old. Have you ever heard of a book, John? You know, those things that people read and they get ideas from, or maybe you don't know how to read. So maybe you should go back to kindergarten and learn how to read and then read a book. Actually, read more than one book. So, yes, in geologic time, the Mississippi River is young, meaning the Mississippi River Delta is young. However, you think the Earth is 6,000 years old, and that means that you do not get to call 70 million years young.
nature, the oldest living thing is called the bristlecone pine. It's also called the Methuselah pine. It is about 4,300 years old. Whoa, what happened 4,300 years ago? Well, according to the Bible, there was a worldwide flood that completely revamped all the real estate. Plants, animals, and people began to populate the earth about 4,400 years ago. Interesting. How come we don't have anything living older than 4,300 years, older than the time of the flood?
John must have a very short memory because he just got through saying that the flood happened 4,400 years ago and the Methuselah pine is 4,300 years old, leaving 100 years unaccounted for. Not only that, but the 4,300-year figure is factually inaccurate. They cut down a bristlecone pine and they found it to be about 5,000 years old, 600 years too old for John. And just because we don't have anything living that is older than 5,000 years old, it does not make the Earth 5,000 years old. When I told you to go read a book, I meant to go read a real science book, not a book full of fairy tales that you really, really, really wish was true.
Now, from the side of evolution, we have this picture from National Geographic, which is of a Homo sapiens. Man knows. And they say it's 92,000 years old. Now, let me tell you something. When we find a fossil, any place, I promise you, not a single fossil comes out with a tag that says, "Hi, I'm the fossil of a Homo sapiens, and I'm 92,000 years old." No, people, according to their beliefs, put the names and their dates. As we'll see in a little bit, a lot of the dating methods are thoroughly unreliable.
Wow, John, you just said something I agree with. I guess you're not a total dunce after all. Wow, talk about blowing my mind. Anyway, yes, there are no fossils that come out of the ground with labels saying what they are and what time they came from. Unfortunately, you aren't smart enough to realize the utter stupidity of what you just said. Science does not assign ages based on our beliefs. We assign ages based on dating. Yes, dating methods have their limitations, but we are well aware of these limitations. We know what these limitations are, and when we do find these limitations, we use another dating method. I don't know why you would be surprised that we found a fossilized human skull dating to 92,000 years ago when Homo sapiens date to 200,000 years ago. Come on, John. If you're going to present an argument, present both sides of the argument honestly instead of putting out a silly straw man of an argument for one position while straw manning another position. This is ludicrous. Learn some evolution. Of course, you really don't have that option, do you? Because if you honestly presented the argument for evolution, then people would understand what it really means and how ridiculous your theory of creation, which isn't even a theory, is.
Let's be generous. Let's say that the first human couple lived 45,000 years ago. One man, one woman, modern human beings. Year zero. 150 years go by, now we're 4. We go to 300 years, now we're 8. Follow out that calculation, how many would we be today? Wow, we'd be standing chest against back, shoulder against shoulder, arms upon legs upon shoulders, miles up in the air, covering the whole surface of the earth.
I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this population argument because logic does a good job on debunking this argument in Science in the 12th Century, crunching the numbers. This is one of the dumbest arguments I've ever heard. First, you need a set point at which you can start, and second of all, you need a set rate at which something increases, and you have neither of those. It blows my mind that you are trying to debunk something you don't even understand yourself. There were no two first Homo sapiens. How dumb can you get? But aside from that fact, this is a cheetah. According to cheetah.org, there are less than 7,100 cheetahs left in the world. The IUCN Red List lists cheetahs as vulnerable. This means that they are in danger of becoming extinct. They are also severely inbred at 7,100 specimens in the wild. Now, I know it's hard for you to think, John, but put your thinking cap on for a minute. If cheetahs are severely inbred at 7,100 individuals, how inbred would we be with two? The answer is, John, that no species can survive a bottleneck of two, ever. And by the way, this blows your creationism argument completely out of the water.
We are not that many people. We do not find that many human artifacts, remains, or bones. It indicates a young earth, just like the Bible says.
Wait a minute. You think human civilization goes back to the dawn of time? Anything, including these sticks, can be considered tools when used appropriately, John, and these sticks would not fossilize. In addition, fossilization only happens under specific circumstances, and those circumstances are not always present. We are extremely lucky to have the fossils that we have, and we have not even found them all yet. His next section deals with radiocarbon or carbon-14 dating, which I am skipping because logic deals with it in Hello, I'm a Scientist.
These beautiful gems are called opals. And according to evolutionary theory, it takes millions of years to make opals. Now there's opal mines in a place in Australia, and a opal dealer went and just took some of the powder from these mining areas, placed it in different jars with different acids and chemicals. He is making opals in a matter of months. These opals are so fine, so beautiful, that even the opal dealers cannot tell the difference between them and ones that are dug out of the mine. Even more so, under an electron microscope, you cannot tell the difference between the mined opals and the ones that he's created in jars in a matter of a few months. Takes millions of years to make opals? Afraid not. Natural processes are able to do it in a matter of months.
This opal claim is interesting. So I didn't track down the claim itself, but I did track down synthetic opals. It's on geology.com/gemstones, and synthetic opals are made in the lab. John is correct in saying that many trained gemologists cannot tell the difference between lab-made opals and naturally made opals. However, John did say that this man added chemicals and acids, and the acids in particular would not occur naturally in caves. And since geologists have already admitted that these man-made opals cannot easily be sorted from the naturally occurring opals, this isn't exactly uh, news to anyone. In short, I'm not really sure what his point was in bringing this up, except to say that opals can be made in the lab, which we already know.
Now, what can we do to protect ourselves? Well, it's always a good idea to see, what does the Bible have to say? What does God have to say? What counts is there for me? In Job 38:4, God is questioning Job, and he says, "Where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth? Declare if you have understanding." What I'm proposing is this, and many have found it effective. The next time somebody in your hearing says something and something millions of years, you, with courtesy, raise your hand, ask to speak, and say, "Excuse me, were you there?"
Were you there? Yeah, I know. I do a horrible OC accent. Anyway, this is what I call a Ken Hamism because Ken Ham, founder of Answers in Genesis, is the one that came up with this horrible catchphrase. No, John, I wasn't there. Neither were you, and neither was your God. Basically, because your God is illogical and non existent. But you know what? That doesn't matter because we have science. And no matter how much you wish our science was wrong and your fairy tale was right, at least our science is repeatable, and that repeatableness has put the science in good stead. And that is why you cannot stand it, and that is why you need to dismiss it. The fact is, that book that you hold in such high regard, that quote unquote has not failed you in anything, cannot even get basic history right. For instance, if Abraham existed, and that's a big if, he certainly was not as described in the Bible. There was no exodus from Egypt, at least not en masse, and Jericho did not exist at the time the Israelites supposedly conquered Canaan.
And most impressive are these stalactites. A mine was closed for 55 years in Australia. And when they opened it, some of these were grown here. You can see where the white arrow is pointing out some men to give you an idea for scale. This formed in 55 years. Tremendous formation of stalactites, not millions of years, very little time indeed.
I can't find this claim anywhere except on creationist websites. That is, I cannot find it in any reputable science journal, nor can I find it on any real websites. So I am going to dismiss this claim and educate you a little bit on how stalactites are formed. According to NPS.gov, the formation of stalactites is determined by several factors, two of the most important being outside temperature and rainfall. This shouldn't be surprising because outside temperature basically controls how fast plants grow and decay, and rainfall will determine the stalactite formation. You, John, said these cave formations were found in Australia, and depending upon where you are in Australia, it doesn't get very cold, does it? You people absolutely suck at supporting your position. All you ever do is assert things that may or may not be true, and that makes other people have to scour the internet. Let me make one thing perfectly clear since you don't seem to get it. Assertions are not evidence. They never have been, and they never will be. Thanks to these awesome people who are my channel members. If you would like to join, you can join for as little as 99 cents a month, and you get your name on the list. You also get perks like custom emojis and members-only content. Well, friends, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, hit that like button, press the subscribe button, and if you want to know when I come out with new content, hit the bell next to the subscribe button.